when you're focusing on the gap, right, there's always going to be a problem. There's always going to be an issue. There's always going to be unfinished stuff, right? So how do you value your life according to that scale, that perspective? And really what it is, it's external validation that you're seeking. Oh, when I have that, then I'll be happy, right? Whereas the gain is internal validation, right? It's like taking stock, like, wow, I've done this, and that's quite cool. And I'm happy with that, right? Okay, cool. Now what is next? But not from like, I need something else. It's like, where do I want to grow? How do I want to progress? We all want to move forward. Cool. There's a difference between moving forward and progressing and growing and having to go out to achieve something in order for you to feel better about yourself.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I'm joined again with an amazing man, Mr. Magulianiti. And today I want to talk about the idea of never being happy. So, what's inspired this? And this guy will be listening to this. I think you probably know where this is going.
Right.
So, we got some incredible news from an incredible man in the movement this week. So he broke his dry spell with his wife that I think has been going on for, I would say, roughly 5 years, probably longer. But this year, not this year, this week, they had sex. Which is great, right? Because this guy has been putting in the work. He's been very consistent. He's created incredible space for his wife to open up and feel safe and begin her own journey of healing. And over the past few years, he has said to us, no, but Tim, all I need is to get laid. When I get laid, you don't get it. You just don't get it. When I get laid, that's when everything must be perfect when I've gotten laid. I mean, I've done this, I've done that, my health's back on track, business is better than ever, I feel better than ever. I just need this one thing. When this one thing is in place, I say I'll be the happiest man on the planet. So that thing has now happened. We were speaking to the guy today.
Right.
And I'm sure he said something similar in York. We spoke to him separately.
Yeah.
In my conversation with this incredible guy, he then said, no, Tim, you just don't get it. When I have this other thing, I don't remember what this particular thing was, then I'll be good. I'm like, what are you talking about? Do you see the pattern? And he tried to fight for the story and give me pushback. Said, no, you're wrong because of this. I said, listen, based purely on what you were telling me, you said prior to having sex, did you not, that if all you could do was have sex, everything in life would be good? Did you or did you not say that? Yes, I did. Okay. Did you or did you not just say a moment ago that now you need this other thing, and once that other thing is in place, you will then be happy? Yes, I did. Can you see what you were doing? At which point he swore at me. Did your conversation go similar with him?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty parallel lines, yeah.
So I want to talk about this idea because there's a big difference between being satisfied and being happy. And I think it's easy for a lot of men, especially the kind of guys we work with who are entrepreneurial, who are driven, whose drive has helped them to achieve a lot of incredible things in their lives, right? And provide a lot of great memories for the family. And I think a lot of them have this fear that if they actually allowed themselves to be happy, that they'll lose their drive, they'll lose their edge, and thus they can't have both. It has to be drive or happiness. And I see this play out a lot. It's a fallacy. they can have both. Again, like I said before, there's a big difference between being satisfied, which is typically when you'll stop, take your foot off the gas, become complacent, stop doing what's been working for you, and being happy. You can have drive and still be happy without needing to be content and stop. Now, you can still be grateful.
Yeah.
It's different to being content.
Yeah.
So, speak to that a bit.
Wow. Yeah, the two are not mutually exclusive.
Which two?
Well, the fact of being driven and being happy, right? And I think people get caught up in feeling like if I'm not achieving things consistently, then I'm not moving forward in life, right? And it's interesting to think about, like, well, what are you chasing, right? Because often, and there's this joke about how many entrepreneurs start businesses to get freedom because they want the freedom that they think they're going to get from not being employed by somebody else. Once again, at the Alpha Reset, we spoke this week about behind every goal, right, is a feeling, right? So what are you chasing continuously? And are you going about it in the right way to get those feelings? I'm taking it off a little bit off tangent to what you said, but I think it's important because what are you wanting through the drive to achieve, right? Every goal has got an emotion behind it. You want to feel satisfied. You want to feel fulfilled. You want to feel like you've achieved something. And that's all great that you're providing. But at the same time, if you're only if you're only going and chasing things to get them done, that's quite a difficult thing to keep doing to achieve those emotions, which you could achieve right here, right now. You can achieve happiness in this moment. You can achieve gratitude in this moment, and that's going to make you feel a lot more connected to everything that you do. There's also this thing that you talk about a lot, is the difference between power and force. Where guys are out there driven, I've got to force this through, I've got to go through there. They're not particularly happy in that moment. They're happy when they actually achieve something. But and we've got another client who has been driven to produce. And now he went through the Alpha Reset, and now he's shifted. And he's like thinking, well, I don't feel that drive anymore in that same way, but I know I can do anything I want to do. And you can see that he's getting used to this new power instead of the force that he's that he's used to before. I think there's an element, as human beings, we are theological beings, right? Which means that we want goals. We've got to have goals, right? And I think one of the things that we get caught up in is we feel like we need to be making progress. And that's a good measure. Are you making progress in your life, in the things that matter to you? That's a difference to being like, oh, I've got to drive and do this and do this and do this. So many guys have achieved amazing things, and yet they can't take 5 minutes to say, hey, check what I've done, and enjoy that before they're on to the next thing. We see this a lot in the material side of things. Oh, when I have the boat, when I have the jet ski, when I have the aeroplane, when I have that. But we know that doesn't work. When I have the million, right? Within like 3 months, you get bored of it anyway, right? So all of this comes back to, what do you really want that's going to make you happy? Number one, you've got to get clear on that. Being grateful for what you have, because all our guys have got amazing, amazing lives for the most part. Yeah, they've got problems with relationships and this and that, and there's an occasional business problem. But unless you're grateful for what you have, you're always going to be looking for the next thing. And you'll never be happy that way.
This guy was saying, I really just need to get, the lighthouse. I just really need to be the lighthouse. I need to get that down. I need to just really go back to the basics of what being the lighthouse is. I just don't get it. Like, fucking bullshit. You don't get it. A big piece of being the lighthouse, to your point, Arthur, is letting your light shine by actually living in the gain versus the gap.
Yeah.
right? If you're always thinking about what's missing and focusing on what isn't there or what's lacking or the scarcity, essentially, which results in the force, like you were saying, versus the gain of what is there and what you do have, and the abundance, essentially. In terms of being a lighthouse, because I know he's going to listen to this show, one of the ways he gets to be a lighthouse right now is to live in the gain, because he can't be the lighthouse and allow his light to shine so brightly so that it can guide others. Others choose, right? A lighthouse is very different to a tugboat. A tugboat will pull and try and convince others to follow. A lighthouse simply shines.
Yeah.
A lighthouse lets others decide what they're going to do, and they can bear the consequences of their actions. It doesn't it doesn't bend, it doesn't waver, right? In order for that light to shine brightly, you got to be living in the gain. You got to see what's right. You got to have perspective, which actually fuels the light to shine. Otherwise, the light's always going to dim.
Well, the whole thing with the gap in the gain is when you're focusing on the gap, right? There's always going to be a problem. There's always going to be an issue. There's always going to be unfinished stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you value your life according to that scale, that perspective? And really what it is, it's external validation that you're seeking. Oh, when I have that, then I'll be happy, right? Whereas the gain is internal validation, right? It's like taking stock, like, wow, I've done this, and that's quite cool. And I'm happy with that, right? Okay, cool. Now what is next? But not from like, I need something else. It's like, where do I want to grow? How do I want to progress? You know, we all want to move forward. Cool. There's a difference between moving forward and progressing and growing and having to go out to achieve something in order for you to feel better about yourself.
It's what I talk about this a lot in the book, pushed by pain versus pulled by pleasure.
Yeah.
Right. In order for, going back to the original point, having drive and happiness, you can have them both, right? You can't have them both if you're pushed by pain. Because if you're pushed by pain, you're always going to feel like something's missing, and you've always got to play catch up and prove yourself and wish and hope that the next thing is going to be the one that finally makes you complete. Like this particular man who, when I get laid, then I'll be complete. Then I will feel essentially validated, right? He was believing in that moment that the only thing he needed was to get the validation from his wife through sex. And once he had the validation through his wife, then the world would be complete.
Right.
And he could rest on his deathbed a happy man, which obviously we all know to be bullshit, right? It's why we talk about the journey being the destination.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be caught in this trap where you believe mistakenly that you're either driven or you're happy and you can't have both, you're perpetually going to be pushed by the pain to prove yourself, essentially. Whatever you have, it's never going to be enough, which therefore means you're going to miss out on being present with your kids.
Yeah.
Because instead of being on vacation and enjoying the time with them, all you're going to do is think about work. And then when you get home from the vacation and you're at work, all you're going to do is think about, holy shit, I missed out on times with the kids.
Yeah.
So you live your life not ever really being anywhere. You never where your feet are. You're always in your head thinking of something else. But in order to make this shift, let's talk about how the guys make this shift. So we've explained the problem quite a lot, right? Explain the flaws of the idea that you can't have both, because you can. Obviously, you don't want to become satisfied and complacent. Get that? You don't need to. Mm-hmm. But how do guys make this shift then in order to be pulled by pleasure, whereby they say yes to themselves and give themselves permission to go after what they truly want, and they're driven still, taking inspired action, we talk about that a lot, while also still enjoying the journey?
I think there's at least two parts to that. One is,
hey guys, I just want to share something with you. I'm sure we can both agree that in order to fix something, you need to know what's broken. And not only need to know what's broken, but a step-by-step methodology on how you can fix it. That's the easiest way to do it, right? Otherwise, you're going to be toiling with things. That's why I created a free training, a training that not only shows you how you got to where you are, where your relationship is missing that love, respect, admiration, and even intimacy that it used to have, to how you get it back, How do you retain that where your wife's looking at you the same way she used to look at you when she said, I do? You know, I don't know about you, but for me, when my wife looks at me like I'm her man, that I feel like I can conquer the world. And I want that for you. Simply go over to thepowerfulman.com/scales. That's thepowerfulman.com/scales. And I have a free video training for you. You can just click play and see if this resonates for you. Now back to the podcast.
Being really grateful for what you have created already. And a lot of guys overlook that, right? You know, we ask the guys to track their wins, right? There's good science behind that, right? And I'm not going to quote it now, but I know that, well, I will. I think it's like a 25% increase in your personal satisfaction and happiness if you just track your wins. But most guys don't consider waking up in the morning a win. They don't, having a great lunch with a friend, they don't consider that a win.
No.
Well, if I didn't do that one deal, it doesn't count. I don't have any wins, right? And it's bullshit. You got a ton of wins from the time you open your eyes in the morning to the time you go to sleep, right? Conversations you'd had with people, achievements you've made in business and all of that. There are a lot of wins, and you have to start tracking them, because only by tracking them, then you can start realizing, actually, there's a lot of good in my life, right? There's a lot of good in my life, and you're blessed. I mean, anyone living in the first world country that has got food on the table, is not got a roof over their head, is not in a war situation. Yes, I know they exist, but for most people, it doesn't. There's a lot of good going in there, and if you discount that, well, you're never going to find the happiness. So it's got to start here, and it's got to start where your feet are, as you say, because that gets you really present to, hey, the gain. Oh man, I've created something amazing here. And just to allow yourself to, I was going to suck that in, or just pull that in and just experience that.
Receive it.
And
right?
Receive it.
So many guys want to brush it off.
Yeah.
Whether it's a compliment, whether it's a win, whether it's praise from the wife, whether it's some affection from the wife, whether it's a hug from the kids, whether it's the warmth of the sun on the skin. It's so in a rush.
And it's interesting
to move on to the next thing.
It's like, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
And I think that comes back to a major limiting belief that a lot of people have. Oh, it's not good enough to be considered a win. It's not like bells and whistles and explosions or whatever. It's like, no, it's a little thing. Okay, it doesn't really count. Everything counts. Everything counts.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the Ascension Blueprint, and obviously the 3 pieces of the Triad of Transformation. One of them is the Lead Like a Lighthouse protocol. And I love within that the guys take the lighthouse assessment.
Right.
So they can see whether they have been a lighthouse or a tugboat, essentially. And obviously, you've seen it. But a big piece of them really allowing themselves to be that way. I'm thinking about this guy today on the phone call. He is overcomplicating it so much.
Yeah.
He knows too much. He doesn't need more knowledge. The idea of him being the lighthouse, there's a lot of work he's done over the past. He gets it, right? But it's easier. The thing with the guys we work with, because they're such intelligent men, they come up with intelligent excuses.
Yeah.
They tell themselves some intelligent stories that are super believable. And a lot of it's a protection mechanism. Right? Because if he actually accepted that he knows enough and he's capable, he therefore has to also admit and accept that he is choosing not to.
Yeah.
Typically, it's because he's afraid. There's fear there. And I think a lot of guys are scared of allowing themselves to be happy in case... And this sounds crazy. In case it's not as good as they think it's going to be. And then what? Like this guy in particular, I think he's really afraid of letting himself be happy for various reasons. One, I know he's had some traumatic things happen in his life very suddenly. He's afraid of letting himself be happy in case all of a sudden his happiness gets taken away
Yeah.
by something outside of his control, and he has to go through the pain again that he went through last time. So he's just scared there of letting go of control, because in order to allow yourself to be happy, you do have to let go of control. And the guys that we work with are so used to being in control, right? They control everything in their environment. But being happy is the opposite of control. It's letting go. It's surrendering to the little things and allowing the win to count and allowing it to be enough. And that takes some settling into. So I think one is scared of letting go of control in case it gets taken away. I think because he's put so much emphasis on the need to be happy, he's made happiness into this huge thing that he believes is going to be the thing that he needs, like it's this magic pill.
Yeah.
That, well, if the happiness doesn't feel as good as I think it should, then it pops the balloon of hope for what the happiness could be, and then what? Well, then am I going to be eternally depressed? You know, and it's just unnecessary. I mean, look, it's delusional to think you would be eternally happy.
I also think happiness can be used in a very nebulous kind of way. You know, it's like, how do you measure happiness, right? So how do you know?
That's what I'm saying.
How do you know if you're happy? Like, well, what's the subjective criteria?
You know, it fluctuates.
But perhaps like another way of looking at it is like, well, if we change it from happiness, how about fulfillment, right? Can you feel fulfilled? All right. Well, now we're getting to something that is more measurable in the sense of like, okay, what do I find fulfilling? All right. Okay. Well, if I'm working out, that makes me feel good and I feel fulfilled there. Well, then that can be a more subjective term. I think, and with this guy, the happiness is thrown out as a banner, right? And it's really difficult to actually hit that, right?
Yeah, it definitely sets the rules of what needs to happen in order to be happy. Is these crazy set of rules.
Yeah, which are constantly changing, as you said, all right? But if you can pin that down, okay, so how can I feel fulfillment, right? And how can I make progress in my life? Because I know that was going to give me a level of satisfaction, right? So it's satisfaction and fulfillment. I think overall, that would be the more real way to consider ways to get to happiness instead of just saying, I want to be happier. How do I get there? There's a big disconnect in my mind for a lot of people when we talk like that.
Yeah. And I think an important point is if you allow yourself to be happy and fulfilled, your drive will change. You won't lose your drive. Your drive will come from a different place. And what I've seen in my own life and in thousands of men over the past 10 years is when they allow themselves to do this, they shift from being busy to being effective. Because instead of taking busy action, which is them just being frantic, really, and being desperate and being forceful and just hustling and grinding, right? Instead of being that way, they take inspired action.
Yeah.
Because they're more relaxed. They have better ideas. They are coming from a more abundant place. They don't jump into deals desperately. They ask for what they want more. They have fewer ideas, but they're bigger ideas. They have more energy to be able to execute on the bigger ideas because they're not so burnt out from just tirelessly, endlessly running on this hamster wheel of hustle. It's a shift. It feels weird at first. At times it can feel like, in the beginning when I made the shift, I kind of felt like I was being a bit lazy because it just felt different. I mean, my calendar didn't say I was being lazy. I still had a lot in. But there was less stress. I think there was less stress in hindsight. Looking back, there was less stress. And I think I had become used to associating stress and chaos with progress. And because I felt I was in demand. So I felt significant, I felt important, and I confused all those things with progress. And it's not at all, right? Just because you're in a ton of meetings or you've got a lot of things going on doesn't mean you're actually being very effective, doesn't mean you're playing at a high level, doesn't mean that you're playing to win.
Or achieving your goals.
Or achieving your goals, right? But yeah, you can allow yourself, like this guy, if this guy was actually able to relax and just try for 30 days, like a little happiness experiment, right? Where every morning he writes down 5 wins. No, when he just or 5 things he's grateful for that morning.
Mm-hmm.
Every evening he writes down 5 wins for the day. Throughout the day, he commits some way, somehow to living in the game. And that might look like him not criticizing because he complains, right? So it could look like him going on the complaint-free challenge, whereby you commit to not complaining and you wear something around your wrist, and if you complain, you snap it, it hurts, and then you switch it from one wrist to the other. And the idea is that you train yourself, you become aware of how often you complain.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, that's 10 times today I've switched this from one wrist to another. Holy crap. I didn't think I complained this much.
Right.
But if he just had that bit of gratitude, stacked those wins, like you said, and allowed himself to change the rules of the game so that the small wins would actually count. I love asking these guys, well, what advice would you give your kids? And they always come up with some really great wisdom. So, well, if that's good enough for your kids, surely it's good enough for you. And they're often stumped when you say that, right?
Yeah.
But if he did those 2 things along with the band, no complaints, I'd be really curious to see where he is in 30 days.
Yeah.
You know what? We should suspend coaching with him. We should, until you complete this 30-day challenge, you're not going to have any more sessions. You got to complete these 30 days. Once you've done that, we'll begin again.
Right. Yeah. You'll love that.
Oh yeah. It'll be flicking the band on that one.
You'll be complaining about that. Yeah. I mean, the other thing, of course, is the obvious thing is you can't be fully present if you're living in the future. Oh, I need to do one more thing. I need to do one more thing, because you're either here where your feet are, you're grateful for what you have, you're aware of what you have. You're not going to be present. You can't be, because you're going to feel a lack, and you're living in the future. That takes you out of the space where you're at. Being fully present with the people around you as well, and actually that's what they want. Yeah.
So we'll wrap this one up. Give the guys 3 things, if you can find 3. 3 things they could do right now to make the shift to being able to continue to be driven, but also enjoy the journey.
1, take stock of your wins. Even small wins count. The singles, we say. That's important. I think focus on progress more than achievement. Right? And thirdly, focus on goals that are fulfilling to you, that you feel, that would be fulfilling. Those are my 3.
I love that. So guys, you've heard it from Master Magoo, the man himself. Like Dougie Fresh always says, the moment of insight, take massive action. So if any of this is resonating with you and you want to find out more about the Ascension Blueprint, then email in the word send to VIP, that's very important person, at thepowerfulman.com. That's a send to VIP at thepowerfulman.com. If you're feeling stuck, lost, you want to get unstuck, get clear, and take your life to the next level, then the Ascension Blueprint could be for you. We'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.